Hi guys, Every Knife Guy here, and this is the first of two videos I want to do, looking specifically at one type paracord, and that is making knife lanyards. These are going to be a couple of longer videos. They're going to be a little bit discussive. We'll look at some knives as well, so it definitely helps if you're into that. They're not going to be just limited to being knife lanyards. Of course, you can use these designs for key fobs, flashlights, anything else that comes to mind. And yeah, we're going to look at some different styles. These aren't hard and fast. This is just something I've been thinking about for a while, and I kind of want these two videos just to kind of get you thinking about different styles of stuff you can use, and maybe give you some of the skills and techniques that you could use to put together something of your own design. So, you know, although I'm going to actually recreate each one of these 6 specific designs, you know, you don't need to do that. You can combine bits and pieces of each other. Some have beads on, some don't. Most of them can be used with beads if you're into that. I personally starting to collect more interesting beads, and that's something that I enjoy. You might not. You might hate lanyards altogether. I know a lot of people do. I'm a fan of them on some knives and not on others. Let me just say that to start with. There's some practical implications. Obviously, they're great on smaller knives, such as this mini grip. They extend the usable handle and your grip on the mini grip. So they're good for that. They're good for pulling a knife out your pocket. I love my one on Spyderco Domino here for that. Just grab hold of the lanyard and yank it out. It's easier than going into your pocket to grip the knife and pull it out. So there's some practical sides to it as well. A lot of it's just decorative. You either like the way it looks or you don't. Some knives I like it on, some I don't. This ZT560 is probably too big of a knife that I wouldn't normally rock a lanyard on it. I just put this on here to do a video on it. Smaller knives definitely. Depends on the knife. Depends on what you want to do with it. So that's about it, guys. I'm going to make each of these 6 tutorials pretty much assuming that you have very little knowledge of what you're doing with Paracord. So we'll go through it from the basics, and I'm going to cover absolutely everything. There's going to be no editing other than to switch between these tutorials. So I'm going to do everything from burning the cords and doing all the snips and cuts and all that stuff. So this will take a little while. Hope you guys enjoy it. Please do leave me comments and feedback, and who knows, there might be more than 2 videos, we'll see. But I'm going to do 2 videos or 3 to start with. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, I figured we'd start with the simplest one on the table there, and that is the lanyard attached to this, which is my Spyderco Pacific Salt. Bit of a user knife for me. Doesn't hurt to have a little highly visible fluorescent orange lanyard on it. If you drop this in the woods, it's pretty well camouflaged in dark woodland terrain. So yeah, something like this could be useful for finding it, or even in the bottom of your backpack for pulling it out. Anyway, I'm going to stop justifying the usage of lanyards, because if you're not into them, you're probably not watching the video at this point. So I'm going to concentrate on you guys who are into them, or into the idea, or want to try them, and go ahead and explain what the first one is that we're going to do. And it's just really simple. You can see it's just composed of one type of knot, and that is the simple snake knot, one of the simplest knots you can do in paracord or any sort of cordage. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I'm going to leave the lanyard on the knife here, and we're just going to recreate it with this loose cord. I'm going to do it with cord that isn't attached to the knife, so that we can lift it up off the desk. You know, making these lanyards on a knife, it's actually easier sitting on something like a couch. Pin this between your knees, and then you can work backwards from the knife like that. It's kind of hard to keep this suspended in space here and show you guys on camera and do everything else. So I'm going to put the knife to the side, and we're just going to do it in free space, so I can hopefully give you guys some close-ups and you can see what's going on. So I have here 2 feet approximately of 550 paracord. Ungutted, it's got all the innards in it, and you can see I just sealed the ends there. I'm going to go over everything from the basics, so we will go over sealing the ends later once we've finished the knots. So as you can see there, I have made the knots, I've snipped these off and then just sealed them at the end. So we're going to go over that in a little bit. So all these tutorials will start with 2 feet of each color used, unless otherwise stated. So that's usually plenty for a little lanyard like that. There will be a bit of waste, but at the end of the day, it's not a big deal really, is it? It's you know, paracord's pretty cheap, and it's better to have more to work with than less. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to pause the video and get myself some scissors, because I seem to have forgotten that. Be right back. Alright guys, got myself my Victorinox climber here with scissors. Swiss Army knife scissors are perfect for this sort of thing. Plenty powerful enough, plenty sharp enough for trimming paracord, so very useful. And a lot of people have one of these lying around, of course. And it itself actually has a little lanyard on it at the moment. So we'll put that to the side for now until we need it. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this. So Here we have our 2 feet of paracord. So I'm just going to double it over in my hand like so. And we're going to start from here, and obviously we're assuming the knife is attached at this point. This is the top of our weave. So the first thing we want to do is we've got our left working end and our right working end. That's how we're going to refer to them. So I'm going to take the left working end and I'm going to take it over the right hand one. So it's crossing over in front like that. And then I'm going to take this left working end back behind the knot. So if I pause there, see if I can hold this all together for you guys. You should have this on the right hand side, this on the left. Okay. So to complete our snake knot, all we're going to do is take this, which is our original right working end. We're going to go underneath this, which is the left working end, up behind, and then down through this right hand hole. So before I cinch this tight, I'm just going to show you guys. Sorry if this is a little jerky, but I'm trying to do it through the camera. So you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so just take both the working ends in your your favorite hand, I guess. And you can just start to push and pull gently on both ends, push the knot together with your thumb and forefinger of that hand as you go, and just tug a little bit on each one. Then obviously at this point, if this was through the knife, you'd be setting this part to the length you want. So on here, I've kept it to maybe about an inch. This will make it a little longer, just makes it a little easier to see. So yeah, you're just going to squeeze together that knot, and then as it gets down to being tight, you're just going to pull on each end, then pull on all the sections of the cord together at once, and you're pulling on the knife at this point, of course. So before you know it, you've got yourself your first snake knot, and that is nicely cinched down. That's the back, that's the front, absolutely the same. So we're just going to do a few of those in a row. So the more I do, obviously, the easier it'll be for you guys to catch on to the technique and so on. So we're going left cord over right, left cord behind, right cord under left, over in front, and down through that right hand hole. Okay, so there you go. We see we have our second knot there. So what you want to do when you're putting these together is just in the same way kind of massage the knot into place as you did with the first one. Just pull in a little bit on each string at a time, and you're just going to use your thumbs. Sorry, I'm a little bit far away from the camera there. I'm trying not to knock the camera. Just push it into place with your thumbs. Keep twisting and working the knots together until they sit nicely with each other. So you should end up with something that looks like that, which is nice and symmetrical. They're both the same sort of tension, so they end up being the same size, and you know they look like they're fitting together quite nicely. So let's go ahead and do a third one. So left over right, behind, right under left, and down through that hole. Really simple knot once you get the hang of it. And each one we're just gonna work up into place. Make sure you keep the gap between each knot nice and even. The tension on each knot nice and even. And just towards the end of tightening it, you want to pull just a little bit on each cord individually, and that just sort of cinches the knot down. You can see there that's looking nice and regular. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly do a couple more. So hopefully you guys have caught on to the technique by now. I don't want to insult you by going over it as if you're a kid, but at the same time I don't want to go too fast and you guys to be complaining that I'm not showing you enough detail. This is going to be the simplest of the lanyards. As it gets more complex, I'll probably spend a little bit more time, but for now we just want to get this one knocked out. Let's go over, oops, left over right, right under left, and down through there. So we did 5 knots on the lanyard that's on the spider coil. Let's just go ahead and do 5 here as well. Should actually, I spend too much time looking through the viewfinder. I should be looking through the, looking past it. Actually makes things a little bit easier. So as you can see, we end up with quite a bit of excess, but that's no big deal. It just makes it a lot easier to tie your knots. There we have our fob or lanyard, looking nice and symmetrical front and back. So all it remains to do is snip it off and singe it. So get scissors here. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail because I think that looks quite good. I'm going to take it to about there, and probably good enough to cut both at the same time. Just cut straight across. Discard those. So you'll see we have a little bit of the filler cords, the core strands poking out, which is fine because those are going to bubble up and seal the ends nicely. And yeah, where's my lighter gone? Back in a second. Sorry guys, I thought I was organized to this video, but clearly I'm not, so now I have a lighter as well. So we're just going to heat up the ends of the cords until they start bubbling, like so. And once you get the end, the inner cords and the outer sheath bubbling like that, quickly lick your fingers, or you can get a little bit of water to the side or whatever, so that you minimize the chance of burning yourself. And you're just going to tap it together like that till you have a nice sealed end. So I'll go ahead and do the other one. Okay, so there we have our sealed ends. And a good tip when you're doing that is once you get it bubbling up and you lick your fingers or whatever, or if you're well calloused, you don't really need to bother doing that. You want to kind of pinch here and pull back over the end, so you're kind of pulling the melted material down, which will actually seal over the end of the cord and just makes it look a little neater. You don't end up with that big white glob in the end, which would be the melted core strands. So there you go, guys. That's the first one done. I'll take this stuff out of the way. Take a look at it with the original. It's pretty similar. As you can see, that only took a few minutes to make, despite all my jabbering. This total video is about 9 minutes, I think, but yeah, really quite quick one to make. Looks quite cool. And yeah, that's the first of the 6. Let's go ahead and get on to the next one. Alright guys, the lanyard fob I have on the ZT-0560 is probably the second easiest to do. It may look quite intricate if you haven't done a lot of paracord before or whatever, but it's very simple. It's basically a bastardization of the cobra stitch, which is basically the simplest stitch in paracord bracelet making and very common, so you may have heard of that. And it creates this, which is called DNA weave. It looks pretty cool, I think. It's nice and grippy. You could certainly use this to pull a knife out your pocket. We just have a little snake knot in the end here, which is what we did in the very first lanyard, of course, so I'm not going to go over that again. So we have 2 pieces of cord here. We have a core cord and this orange outer piece making the actual design. So let's go ahead and put this together. So here I've got 2 feet of black cord. I just put a simple snake knot in it as before. I'm not going to bother going over that for you guys, we just did it. And I've just put it at an arbitrary length, so we have a piece of cord to work on here, and hopefully be able to show you guys quite clearly. So we have 2 feet of orange as before, and we're going to put that behind our black core cord. Doesn't matter where just now, we can adjust this. And I'm going to put that roughly in the middle, so we'll just pull the ends out like so. So we should have something that looks like this. So we're going to take our right hand working end, we're going to come over the front of the cord like so, like that. Okay, so it's coming round from the right hand side, and then you're going to take what is now your top cord and bring that down over the top of that one. So it should look like this. Sorry, I'm hardly on the camera there. I'm trying to watch this knot and see what you guys are saying. So then all we're going to do is take this end here, which was originally our right hand side, originally our left hand side, and we're going to go down under this cord and up through this hole on the right. Pull it up through there. So that is our knot. I'm just trying to hold on to everything here in midair, and then we're just going to pull that tight. So I'll go over that again obviously a few times. So you should end up with something that looks like this. You should have a single band going across your 2 black strands, and you should have this loop coming around in front of it, basically pinching it against the black. On the reverse it should look like that, but I don't want to confuse you too much. On the front it should look like that. Again, sorry if I'm going into too much detail or not enough, guys. I'm just trying to strike a balance between treating you like idiots who don't know how to tie a knot and giving you enough information that you can go and do this without struggling. So that was one stitch. We're basically, that's all we need to do. We're just going to do the same thing over and over again. With a cobra knot, you would reverse your style, so you get a nice even weave. With this, we're going to keep doing the same one, which will cause it to spiral around, giving us that DNA effect that we looked at the start. So same thing again, right hand cord over the front, left hand cord over that, and up through that hole behind. Okay, we're going to do a couple of these, and then we're going to stop and have a look. And it's pretty easy to tell if you've gone wrong quite early on with this, guys. So let's just do a couple, and we should start to see our, go do one more, and we should start to see our pattern forming, and then we can adjust things. Go in front. Hope I haven't gone wrong here, because I'm going to look like an idiot. Okay, so pull that quite tight, not overly tight. So now if we look, we just need to manipulate the knot, make everything nice and even. We should already be starting to see that spiral forming. Can you see that? So on the front we should have these basically cross pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice even bands coming down the side. Same on this side. So I'm going to show you the knot a couple more times. The more you do this, the better it'll look, but obviously you don't want it too long for a knife lanyard, but we'll do a couple more. So right hand cord over the front, like so. Left hand cord over the top of that, round behind and up through this loop you made on the right hand side. Now you can do this in reverse, of course, as long as you stick to the same style every time, it'll just form into the same knot. So as you go, you just want to manipulate the knot, make sure it's not binding up on itself, still looks nice and even. The key to making lanyards and little fobs like this look good is just getting the tension the same in every knot, and just being consistent with how you tie it. So right cord over the front, left cord over the front of that, round behind, up through the hole. Just make sure your cord is going through as it should. Over the front, over the top, round behind, comes on, and up through the hole. And this obviously gets trickier the shorter your cord gets, and this is where starting off with a couple of feet of each color comes in, because it's easy to end up running out of cord, and that's a real pain in the ass because you have to start over and you've wasted the cord that you did have because you've cut it too short. Better to go a little bit longer and have a little bit of waste at the end, I always find. It's going to do maybe 2 more, and then we should be able to see our weave forming quite nicely. Last one, over the top of that with the left one, round behind, up through the hole. Pull that tight. So now you should see there we have our spiral DNA pattern. So all we need to do is snip off these ends, move this into position. It's not too big a deal because we're just kind of mocking up what we have here, but I'm going to go ahead and snip these off. Now the trick is you don't want to go too close, obviously, whoops, because you might lose the end of your knot, but also you don't want to give yourself too much material to burn. I'm making a real mess of that. I don't know why that cut so badly, but what we have here now, you should be able to see, is just a little tuft of paracord in the end, and we're just going to carefully try and singe that here so that we can just dab it in and lock in the end of this knot. We don't want to melt this, obviously. We definitely don't want to melt the black, because that's just going to look ugly. So I'm going to go off camera here so I can concentrate on what I'm doing here. I'm just going to hold it close but not touching, close enough that it starts to melt that. You should see it start to shrivel up a little bit. And then wet your finger so you don't burn yourself. Tap it into place, and you should be able to see that's kind of melted and created a glossy melted plastic sort of look. Which basically means that's sealed onto there, and the end of that knot is secure. So just need to do the same on the other side. I'm maybe not doing the best job of this, guys, but I'm trying to be fairly quick here. You don't want to watch me doing this all day. Cut that off there. Again, just leave yourself a little tuft, and if it looks a little raggy like that, that's quite good because that'll melt quite nicely when it's sort of flared out like that. The heat can get around all the little strands of the paracord and really melt it up quite well. So that one's bubbling away quite nicely. So go ahead and seal that in. That one's sealed a little better than the first one. You can see there that's not going to pull out now. So that's that part. These I'm not going to bother snipping off for you. You know what the deal is with that by now. And so we should be able to just squeeze that down, and you can lengthen it or compress it to whatever sort of tension you want. That's the look we have at the moment, which should be pretty comparable to this one. Yeah, this one's a little more compressed, maybe looks a little bit better than the one on the knife. And that's the idea, guys. You just make it to whatever length you want. Make sure you start with your loop, or your black loop, that are sort of right length you need. And a couple of turns of this DNA weave looks pretty good, I think. So that's it. That's the second one. And we need to go ahead and get on with the third one. So there you are, guys. Another design for you. Okay, so the third one we're going to do is the lanyard that's attached to the Spyderco domino. And this is literally a single knot. On here you can see I have a Schmuckatelli bead, which is pretty cool. I'm into beads, some guys aren't. I think they look pretty cool, particularly ones like this. Really detailed. I think it looks good in there. And yeah, the lanyard itself is just a piece of paracord with a single knot, which is a diamond knot, also known as lanyard knot in itself, a stopper knot, all sorts of things. And it's great because it's it basically will never come undone by itself. It's very hard to get it undone when you actually want to. And it's, it makes a really nice simple pull, great for zippers and that sort of thing as well. So good skill to have. It is a bit of a bitch to do, I've got to be honest. It's not my favorite to tie, and it's quite easy to get wrong. So this is going to be a little bit tricky, guys. I'm only going to go through this once for time constraints, but I'm going to go through it slowly and see if I can explain it quite clearly to you. So let's see if we can get it right. We have 2 feet here of 550 cord as usual. And I actually used to, the tutorial I have on my channel already is actually a slightly different way from this, the way I showed it. But I've seen a few tutorials recently that showed it this way, and I find it's clearer to follow, so hopefully you guys will too. So let's go ahead and just double over a cord like that. And I'm going to pinch that in my non-working hand between my forefinger and my middle finger. This makes things a little easier. So we're going to take our right hand strand here. Now 2 feet should be plenty, give us enough to work with. It's a tricky knot if you don't have enough, so we'll go with 2 feet. So our right hand cord, we're going to basically double it over, so you're going to go up and round behind. So if you see there, we have our right hand cord is basically coming in front, going round and down like that. It's hard to explain that how to turn it like that, but you guys can see there what I've got. The downward cord is behind the one coming between my fingers. Okay, I'm going to try and hold this on camera for you and concentrate on what I'm doing. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a pinch of the left cord. Oops, this is already trying to get away from me. Take a pinch of the left cord, and we're going to move this loop that we have on the right over the top of that. Okay, so basically you have that pinch poking up through the loop there, like so. And it's going to come clear in a minute why we've done that. So we just want that sitting there. Just try and hold it with your fingers, with your thumb, whatever feels comfortable. So you should still have 2 cords coming at the bottom. You've got a hoop coming up through that ring. You can see there from the side. That's what we have. You're then going to take your left cord, and we're going to go underneath the right hand one, like so. So we're coming back underneath it. We're going to come over the top of this piece of cord here, underneath our hoop that we just made, and over the top of this one here. So things will get much clearer once we've done this stage, guys, so hang in there. So we're going under that cord, over this one, through our hoop, and out over the top of that left hand turn there. Okay, now this is the tester if we've done everything right so far. We should end up with this really quite pretty symmetrical-ish kind of shape here, almost symmetrical I guess, and that in itself is actually quite solid, so you should be able to let go with your fingers, and that should pretty much hold itself as is. Okay, don't worry too much about how long your loop is. We can always play around and adjust that afterwards. Now this is the part where I often mess up, so hopefully we get this right, guys. We have 2 ends. We've got one coming out the top, one out the bottom. Doesn't matter which way you turn it, but we're going to hold it the same way kind of we had to start with. So you can see underneath we have our 2 cords going in, the one at this end and the one at this end. So we're going to take the cord that's coming out, for example, this end, and we're going to take it towards us, past this cord, and round and up here. Now this is called a diamond knot because the shape we have in the middle should be approximately like a diamond. It's a bit of a wonky diamond in our case, but closest we're going to get out of a cord. So we're going to take this end and we're going to come round the knot. So we're going past this leg here, past this leg here at the back, right around the knot, and then we're going to come up through that middle diamond. Oops, I'm watching this on camera, so it's a little tricky, guys. Up through the middle diamond, okay? Hopefully that was clear enough. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to come round counterclockwise again. So we're going to come past this leg, make sure the cord is kind of going underneath the knot. I'm losing control a little bit here. Going underneath the knot. So you've come past both legs, going counterclockwise again. Same thing as you did with the first cord, and up through the diamond as well. So we should have both our cords coming up through the diamond. We can just grab those there and gently pull them through. So we should have 2 cords coming out, or 2 cords going in. And there are a few knots that benefit more from gentle massage at this stage. We just want to carefully pull gently on all the cords and gently squeeze the knot down. Just work it between your finger and thumb. And hopefully as we tighten up, things should start to look approximately as we want. I'm going to pause there and show you. So everything looks reasonably symmetrical. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. Let's just take a look at what we're trying to get to, which is this here. You can see that's just all cinched up really, really tight. So we need to get to that, but we need to be very careful and not just rush it and pull too fast, because things will just turn into a huge mess. So just carefully squeeze it in with your fingers as you pull gently on both sides, and everything should start to fall into place. It's at this stage that if you're way off with your length of your lanyard, you want to start feeding in slack from here. So take one of these and push it through So for example, this is coming through there, and then you're just going to take that and work it right through the knot until you pull it out this side. It'll probably be this one. But you get the idea. You just have to work it so it's roughly in the position you need, because as you tighten it, it's going to shift a little bit, but not a huge amount. So you want to get that right here. I'm just going to tighten it where it is, for example, just to show you guys how this works. So once you get to this kind of stage, you want to basically pick one of them and use it to tighten the rest of the knot. So in this case, I'm going to take this one here, which is attached to this, so you can see that there. And I'm just going to push that through the knot a little bit and work that all the way through and use that to pull out a bit of the slack. Okay, so I've pushed it all the way through to the point that it should be connected to one of these. And you see if I pull there, that's tightening up the whole knot. Let's do that with this one here, which is connected to this. I'm going to push that through a little bit. So we're just working all the slack out of the knot. You guys know how to do this. It's pretty simple. But the point I'm trying to stress here is be careful, keep manipulating your strings, make sure everything's kind of parallel and in line, and don't rush it. Just pull gently and then start to pull a little bit at a time on each of the four strands. And only once you get it kind of to this stage can you just go for it and just hog on all the ends to really tighten it up. Even then, you want to watch that you're not ending up with one loop ending up much slacker than the others, because then you're going to want to go and work that slack through the knot before you really pull and cinch everything down. But for demonstration purposes, I think that's good enough. We'll go ahead and just pull on that, and hopefully we end up with something reasonably symmetrical. And you can manipulate it between your fingers, squeeze it, whatever. You can actually use pliers if it's really hard and it's still a little out of shape. Use pliers just to squeeze the knot, and it'll actually help just form it into something that looks right in the end. So that's not bad. It's not the best, but I was trying to do it fairly quickly for you guys. The more time you spend it, the better it'll look. So that is your diamond or stopper knot. And if you do spend a bit of time and practice a couple of times, it should look something like this, which I think looks pretty cool. And it's a great stopper if you're focusing on the bead or whatever being your main attraction in the lanyard rather than the knot itself. So that's it, guys. That's the third one for today. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 more for the second video. I'm not going to bother snipping these off. You guys know how to do that by now. And hopefully you enjoyed this. Any feedback welcome. And I'm going to do another video with 3 more, maybe more after that. We'll see. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. And I'll be back with part 2 soon. Cheers.